Okay, and welcome everybody to another episode of Talk Like That with me, Mark Dallas. I guess I should have a caption down here saying who I am. I am host of Talk Like That podcast, and I'm also a dialect coach. And today I am, for the first time, going to be interviewing three people at the same time. So wish me luck. And to introduce these people, one of them is an actor, the other one is an actor, and the third one is their agent. So to mention them by name, first of all, we have their agent, who is Teri. Teri. This is the moment where I forget people's names.
Ritter.
Teri Ritter. And we also have Ralph Perl and
Hello.
Jessica Perl. Hey!
Hey!
Welcome, everyone.
Hey.
Hello.
Thank you for turning up to Talk Like That. And it's awesome to have you all here. And this is the first time that we have this kind of a setup where it's like, is it the Brady Bunch where they have all the... a lot of the young people like Jessica.
Yeah, I'll look up and then I'll look sideways, and then we'll be
Exactly.
we'll be perfect.
Yeah, well, I'm looking the wrong way. It's this way. Yeah.
You know, funny. It's funny that you mention it because I shot something back in December that was a Brady Bunch type style commercial where we had to, look this way, look that way. It was very cool. Very cool.
It's been used a few times, I think, the Brady Bunch thing. I mean, it's so iconic that, I guess, Restream has made it a part of their design. So, it's inspiring. Anyway, I'll get started because, we've got at least 2 viewers now. So I figure we should actually start getting into the meat and potatoes of this interview. So the first thing is I'm going to ask Teri, you are a talent agent. So I just wanted to ask, first of all, how long have you been a talent agent and how did you end up becoming one? Because it's not really the kind of job that when you're 5 and someone asks you at school, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I want to be a talent agent. How did you end up doing that?
Well, I've been at it 14 years. And the way it came about was really kind of an odd situation, but Ralph and Jessica will kind of like this one. So I was an accountant originally, had been for quite a number of years, 30 some odd years. And my daughter wanted to be an actor. Ever since she was little, she would say, Mom, when can I be on TV? Mom, when can I be on TV? And for me, it was like, this is never going to happen for you, honey. I just, she was constantly bugging me about how to get on TV and how to become an actor. And even her teachers would say, you should get this kid an agent because she's really funny. She's really, she'd be great on TV. Well, I was not convinced. And basically, she continued to bug me until I started to, give in. And I began the search for an agent for her and went to a couple of places. And one of them was Heinz Management. Maya got signed immediately to Heinz Management, started auditioning, and basically booked absolutely everything that she would go out for, including, feature films with Molly Ringwald, who played her mom in one of her shows. And, basically she was a really good actor. She went for it and really booked. So what kind of happened in there was that now her agent was trying to book me space to work because I had to be on set with my daughter, and I'm still trying to do accounting while my daughter's on set. But what happened was I grew to love the industry, and I hated accounting. I was really good at it. I made good money at it, but absolutely hated it. And so I asked her agent what it would take to become an agent. And she said, oh, you really should try acting. It's got to come from somewhere. So I did, got headshots, booked my very first US national commercial. I could not manage it at all on set. I hated it. I stumbled over, it took a day to get the word, like 6 lines out of my mouth. And so I asked her agent, basically, did we make a lot of money on that? And she said, yes. And I said, you keep the money. I want to be your partner. And she gave me a stack of headshots and resumes. And I began the search while I was working full-time as an accountant. I began to bring people on. And within 3 months, I left my full-time 6-figure job to become an agent at zero, like commission, only commission. As a single parent with a boat loan and a mortgage and everything else going on. And that was 14 years ago. The rest is history. I love it.
Wow.
It's the best thing I've ever done.
So the moral of the story is really like, if you're making the bucks, you're doing stuff that is sucking out your soul, you hate it, but you're going there for the money, just quit it. Like,
yeah.
Even if you're a single mom, and you have to eat baked beans every day, quit it.
Well, I did. And I actually sold everything. I sold everything. The house, the boat. I kept the car. I needed it. But
the helicopter.
Yeah, all of that. Got a tiny little, like, 2-bedroom apartment and just scrimped and saved for the first 3 years while I was doing this. But I've never been happier. I was never happier. I went from being a depressed mom, you know, working like 5 days a week with lots of money coming in, to being an absolutely happy mom and agent, doing the thing that I really loved. And then here I am 14 years later, and except for COVID, basically making what I made when I was an accountant. So it's all good. And I'm happy. So yeah,
that's
follow your dreams.
Okay. Now I'm gonna go clockwise now. So I'm gonna move on to Ralph, and so Ralph is the pretty one with short hair. I say that because there were no names up on the screen, I don't think. So so Ralph, tell me, how long have you been an actor, and what were you doing before Jessica changed your career?
So Teri, that's a great story. You said that I would like it.
Yeah.
I see so much parallels with me and Jess, and in what you say, right? So that's great. Thanks for sharing that. And as far as my journey, so, you know, very similar. You know, we, you know, Jess came to me several years ago. I guess it was probably a year. Was it a year after Mom died? I think it was a year. It was about a year.
I think it was even less than that.
I think it was a year. I think it was a year. I think it was a year after Mom died, and she said, "Dad, I want to be an actor." And I said, "You're out of your mind." Right? There's no way that's going to happen, right? And that's
it. Just crush your kids' dreams right there and then. Just
kill them right now while you can.
What an awesome dad.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, I said no, right? And you know, she was deflated, of course, but life continues. And then I guess was it a couple years later? I guess it was a couple years later when we were trying to figure out what she was going to do in the summer, and she said that she wanted to go to theater camp, right? So she ended up, we ended up enrolling her to theater camp. It was in Richmond Hill. It was their theater up in Richmond Hill. And the first day that I picked her up, she comes to me, she said, "Dad," I'll never forget this. She says, "Dad, if I didn't have to go home, I would sleep here." Right. And I knew right at that time, right, that, wow, we found, you know, like she's found something that, you know, she's passionate about and she loves, and like it's in her, right? So so
at that point you said, don't bother coming home then. Just sleep there.
Right. I wish that I could have done that, but she was a little too low. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just
Look at Jess's face. It's like, what?
I'm just kidding. No, I'm really honestly. But you know, she was invited that first year in that summer camp. She was invited to be in the production that they do for real paying customers, with a speaking role, part of the ensemble with the speaking role. And then, you know, we that was a big deal, and she got to do a bunch of performances. And then from there, it evolved to going to school for acting. And, you know, now she's just finishing Seneca for acting for college and voice. And where I came into the
camera and voice, but yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm just so excited. So that's what it is.
Come on, Dad, keep up. Get with the program.
And you know, we fast forward to her being on these softwares for casting, and she was, I guess, she was recruited by a quote unquote agency. And we ended up, you know, going to meetings. She applied to a bunch of agencies, didn't get a response. You know, she didn't have a lot on her resume and a lot of experience. So not surprisingly, she didn't get a lot of response. Mm-hmm. And we went and met with this agent. And this agent, during this meeting, while signing for her, the agent turns around to me and says, "What about you?" And I said, "What about me?" And he says, "You know, there's a lot of roles for you, and you know, for guys in your age group, and blah blah blah." And Jess says to me, "You know what? He's not lying. There is a lot of roles out there. I see the breakdowns." And you know, from there, I just thought I was going to pay for some really expensive photos. You know, get some headshots, really costly. And I figured that they would just in the end be expensive photos. And then lo and behold, not a month later, I started to get sent out on auditions. And much like Teri, who went out for her, you know, she went out for a commercial her very first time. I went for a commercial the very first time, not knowing what I'm doing, no training, nothing. I didn't even realize, this is how green I was. I didn't even realize that there was actually a storyline posted to the wall right by the door that I was supposed to, nobody instructed me, right? I was supposed to read to get an idea of what they wanted. Nothing. I just walked in. The director told me what to do. I had a pretend wife and a pretend kid, right? And we rolled. It was improvised, right? And then they said goodbye. I got a call back. On the very first outing, I got a call back, not knowing what I was doing. Came back. They had me do the same scene with, now they mixing and matching with 6 different wives, 6 different sons, right? And at the end of the day, I didn't book it, right? But because I didn't have what they exactly wanted to get out of me, I couldn't give them what they wanted. But what an experience for the very first time out there. It sort of evolved to, you know, American Gods, Unexpected Killer, a number of student films. You know, I'm here right now. You know, finished a student film. I have something else on Saturday. I have a bunch of things upcoming. So there you have it.
That's right. I was going to ask you, because you're on set right now. You've just wrapped up. What was it? What are you working on?
This was a short film. So it was a student film, short film, where I got to play a mean boss, mean boss. Seems
well,
to be my,
you know, you got to be careful. You could be typecast, because, like, when I first saw you, I thought he looks like a mean boss.
yeah,
this guy.
That's
I'm just joking. I'm just kidding. And I just put up a caption. Somebody wrote in saying, somebody called Jessica Efraimov, and she says, "Wow, that's really impressive." But the thing is, I don't know what she's saying is impressive. So I just figured that every few minutes, I'm just going to put this caption up every time. Every time I say something that is fairly mediocre, I'm just going to put up, "Wow, that's impressive," just to make.
Yay, Jessica!
That's a good idea.
She's my friend. She's my
She is?
friend.
So it must be something. It must be related to something you said, Jessica. So coming on to you, Jessica. I understand that your story, where you started your career as an actor. I mean, apart from your dad, obviously, who tried to put the whole kibosh on it and end it from day one. You know, apart from that,
Mhm.
I understand the whole story. You started with as it's been touched on a little bit earlier, started with a very tragic event.
Yeah. 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 So when I was 12, my mom passed away. And like even before that, I had a passion for acting, but it wasn't as strong until that happened. Because after that happened, I was like, wow, life could end like at any moment. Like she died when she was 46. So like life could really end at any moment. And I know, for example, like my mom never got to do everything she wanted to do. Right. So I was like, wow, I don't want to make that mistake. And, I told my dad right away, like, I want to go into acting. And yeah, he wasn't that accepting at the time, but I pushed him enough. And, I got to a point now where he is doing it with me, which I never in a million years would have thought, by the way, because he
Well,
really was
this is
against
the
it.
thing, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
got him into this, so he cannot save face now. Like if he didn't want you to do it, that would be it.
You know what? Every time he gets an audition or he gets a role, I say that's because of me. I would just like to put that out there. If anything
Yeah,
becomes of my dad, I get full credit for it.
yeah. It's like you owe me,
Care,
sucker.
you know.
You
Yeah.
owe me, Dad.
Oh,
Yeah,
every single time he gets an audition, I just remind him. I'm like,
yeah,
this is because of me. Because I got you into that. Like, I always just give him that little reminder.
yeah.
but
Fold it
yeah,
over,
I
yes.
really like having. Yeah. Always. I always got to remind him because of how against it he was. Like he always used to say, no, it's either like every other parent, like doctor or lawyer, something. Like keep in mind, like I still have a backup plan, like everyone should. But at least he's allowing me to pursue it now because he's gotten more educated about the industry and about how the union works and how sets work and what the actor and agent relationship is and what that entails and all of that kind of stuff and about auditioning and networking. And the more he got into it, the more he was like, oh, this is fun because I can be in it too. Right. So he really likes it too. So I feel fortunate to have a parent who supports it now, for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really cool. I mean, it. I mean, that is like the traditional role of a dad to some point is to say, no, you've got to have a profession. You've got to go into doing this, that, or the other. Doctor, lawyer, whatever. So I mean, he was just fulfilling that role. I'm talking about him in the third person. He's right here. My apologies for talking about you, but
That's okay, Mark. That's all right.
you were fulfilling that role, and like you say, it's you got to have some kind of backup plan. But that backup plan as an actor doesn't mean that, okay, if this fails, then I'll just become that. And it's like an actor once said to me that when somebody asks me, oh, what do you do? And she says, well, I'm an actor. And then they ask her, well, what do you know? But what's your real job? And she says, well, this is my real job is I'm an actor. I only do the other stuff, like whether it's waiting tables or whatever. I do that so I can get groceries, so that I can do my real job. And that's what it means by backup plan, is just to have something that you can like go and do, like, and then make some money that allows you to do your real job. So yeah, anyway.
It's yeah. I was just gonna say it's interesting because I feel like people are both confused and fascinated. Like, oh, sorry, I think I disconnected.
Oh no,
I was
you're
just gonna
still
say
there for the
people.
time being. It's just there's a kind of like a sync. There's a synchronizing
Oh,
delay,
cool.
but
Okay. Yeah. No, I just wanted to say, like, for example, like if acting doesn't work out, like I want to go to law school eventually.
Cool.
Which I don't know how many of you guys know, but yeah. And right now, like I'm doing moot court. It's basically like a fake court where you appeal to like the Supreme Court at university, and it's this whole thing. Anyway, so with my team, they always go around asking, oh, like what does everybody do? And everybody has like all these majors, like, oh, I'm political science, I'm English, I'm math, whatever. And then I come around and I'm like, I study acting. And
Love it.
and they always look at me, they're like, wait, what? And they always get so confused, but then like they love it. Like, for example, because of like advocacy, like my public speaking is like through the roof. And they're like, oh my gosh, they're like, what you're saying is so incorrect. And we need to teach you what to say, but how you say it is great. Like,
Exactly.
you know, like, so
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
definitely
that's a really good point.
comes as a
So,
surprise.
like they said, I mean, that
Yeah.
that just hits the nail on the head. It's like, okay, the content of what you're saying in this case is totally wrong, but it's so convincing. So having that is going to be so great. Also, one will help out the other. So having that kind of law background is also going to help you with, choosing your words and thinking about how you approach roles and so on and so forth. Hey, you might get a gig on, LA Law or something like that. One of those guys who've done law. So, yeah. Okay. So moving on to, I'm going clockwise. You see, I'm going to try and keep this pattern. Going back to moving back on to you. I was going to say Ritter. See, this is how I could never like. I'm like, I'm just so impressed about actors. Like they're like, oh yeah, and I work with Justin, Timberlake. I was with Cumberbatch, and and they just like reel off these names just like that, and it's Teri. Sorry, I don't know where I got. I think because Ritter is your surname.
Yeah.
So like my brain's go Ritter, but yeah, because the Teri. So Teri, what is it like to have these two on your roster?
Well, it's interesting. We've only been together as a team for a month, so we still have a lot of our relationship to develop over the years. Most of my guys have been with me all of 14 years that I've been an agent. And so there's a lot of learning to be had in the first little bit while you're getting to know each other. The communication is really good so far. I really like it. I feel like there's some really good communication going on about what they want to do as actors, what roles charge them up, what gets them excited. I'm already talking to a producer about Ralph in a very specific role, which I think he'll be really suited towards. So it's, for most agents and actors, it's really a teaming kind of thing. It develops over time. The longer you're together as a team, the more interesting it becomes because you have this real, solid knowledge about who they are as people, who they are as actors. And, I think that's really essential as an agent to get to know your guys so that you're really putting them in for the roles that they're really going to be excited about. The more they're excited about a role, the better they're going to do in the audition. And it's kind of a no-brainer. So my job, I feel, is really mostly actually getting to know who they are, and having them as a dad and daughter team is kind of cool. So my focus right now is to try to get them on a project together, which would be really cool for both of them. So, yeah.
Yeah,
That
two
would
thumbs
be
up
pretty
for that.
awesome
Yes.
to see
Yeah.
them, acting
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Especially if they're like two roles that are not father-daughter, like kind of adversarial roles would be pretty cool.
Yeah, like I'm looking out for whatever kind of could be interesting for them, and it could actually be anything. But having them on set together would be like such a real solid experience for them as dad and daughter and as actors. So yeah, so that's my
Plus,
aim.
they could also run their lines at home in their spare time. It'd be
Oh, totally.
perfect.
Yeah. Well, they
like
each help each
bonus.
other quite a bit with their own specific auditions. So Jess will help Ralph when he's got a self-tape due on something and vice versa. And so having the two actors together, especially right now during COVID, when it's so hard to find somebody to help you self-tape, is like, this is a perfect team for me as an agent, because they can work together. They're both actors. One's feeding off the other. It's like really, it's very good. Yeah.
Awesome. I should mention, you talk about self-tapes and finding a reader can be a real challenge. I should mention here that I have this is like a completely shameless plug here on my behalf. I have a Facebook group which is called Talk Like That, same as this podcast. So if anybody is looking for a reader, there's a lot of members in that group that will volunteer. So if anybody does need a reader last minute or for the next day, just join Talk Like That Facebook group, and then you can just put that out there, and somebody's bound to respond and say, sure, I'll help you with that, because there's a lot of professional actors that are in there.
You should link that up to our Facebook group as well. We have a Ritter Talent Agency Facebook group, and so we can actually plug you through that as well to all our actors.
Awesome.
So we'll connect after this.
Oh, for sure.
Make sure that happens.
Sounds good. It's like plugs going crazy here. If anybody doesn't get a plug in, just slip them in at the end. We'll make a whole list. A whole list of links. Hey, buy these. So I tell you what, though, I wish I was selling these. These are amazing. Have you seen these?
No, what is that?
These Zapper things. By the way, just to let you know, anybody watching, I am not selling these. This is not a plug here, okay? This is something I keep in here because sometimes they're like little tiny flies buzz around, because this is a cupboard I built in my basement, and like this is my sound booth, right? But the thing is, every now and then, like you'll see like something with like a little gnat will come past. Well, this is fantastic. You turn it on, you zap it. It's like such fun.
That's a
Killer, bug killer.
Jessica needs. She needs it. Where do you get it from? She needs that.
Well,
always...
I'm glad you asked. You can buy this from my website, talklikeThat.com/flyzapper. You can get them like
seriously.
You could get them from I don't know. There's Home Depot. I think Walmart do something like it. There's so many different ones. Just like put in bug zapper. It's so much fun in the summer. Just like playing tennis with bugs flying around. It's
because at night, in the middle of the night, I get, I'm hearing these noises come from the room next door, like, scratching noises on the wall. I'm thinking, what the hell is going on, right? And it's the vacuum cleaner is being dragged up from the ground floor, and it's being dragged up to the second floor, and it's making because it's going on the wall. It's making these noises. I'm thinking like something's going on, like somebody's like somebody's crashing into the house, or like this big huge noise. And it's you really should write a short film all about that. Yeah.
Imagine you like lying in bed with the sheets up under your chin and like hearing all these noises, and then it would cut to what it actually is. But it would be, first of all, it'd be the image of what you're seeing happening, right? And like somebody dragging a corpse up the stairs, but then you see it's actually somebody with a vacuum cleaner. And then, that's it. Look,
exactly.
You join me in on this. I'll be a co-writer for sure. And
okay, perfect. Let's do it.
That would be so funny.
I'm open to that.
You can see it. We've got that vision. I forgot what I was going to ask now, but that was it. I was going to ask Rita. Just joking. I was going to ask Teri about like somebody is applying to, because I know that there's a lot of actors that are still wondering if during this era agents are still taking on people, and B, wondering like what do they need to have prepared in order to before they do that. So Teri, what are you looking for?
Okay, so it's an interesting time, and there are a lot of agents that are not taking new people on. I'm selectively taking new people on, but for those that are really looking to find an agent, it's really important to have a really nice package emailed out to the agent. So I get the craziest emails sometimes with like no subject line, nothing even in the email body, just a couple of pictures, and I don't even know what they're asking me, or they'll say, want to join your roster, and then they don't send me anything, no pictures, no resume, whatever. So as an agent, I try really hard to respond to absolutely every single person that requests or sends me an email. I think if you guys are out there looking and putting effort towards trying to find an agent, the nicest thing to do is to actually answer you. And I know 90% of the agents don't. They don't have time. I actually don't have time, but I think it's honorable to actually do it. So when you're going to submit something to an agent, make sure you have a headshot, a couple of different headshots, a completed resume. If you have demo material, it's so important to send it because it's the very first thing that I look at. If my roster is even open at all, I'm going to look at your demo material to see if you actually can act. From there, I'm going to look at your headshot to see if I have any conflicts already with people that look like you on my roster. And then I'm going to look at your resume to see what you've done and what what kind of experience you have. And I will respond to that. Those that email me junk and don't, they don't put a proper package together, I basically will respond and say, no, I'm sorry, the roster is closed. So, if you're unique, and try to put what makes you unique, because there are thousands. I get hundreds of emails every week of actors looking for representation. Try to detail what makes you unique and why you would be an asset to my roster, because I see hundreds and hundreds of people every week. And those that capture my attention are those that are interesting, present a good package, and have emailed in the body of the email why they want to come on board and what makes them important for me to see. And I suspect it's the same for every other agent out there. They want to know, why are you going to be a benefit onto the roster?
Awesome. By the way, Cheryl DeLuca, who I know, she's a friend of mine that I've interviewed in a previous podcast. She says, "Is this Teri Ritter?" Well, actually, Cheryl, it's not Teri Ritter with 2 R's. It's Teri with 1 R, Ritter. So get that right, okay? But she says she's heard a lot about you. Amazing. So there you go. There's
Thank you, Cheryl.
So I'm going to keep going in the same road this way. Yeah, it's backwards so I'm going to go clockwise and move on to Ralph and say, so Ralph, did you mention what you did before you were acting? I can't remember now.
Well, I'm still doing it. So I do corporate event planning, but there isn't much to do in that realm for the last year.
Not right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, luckily over the years, because I've been doing it for a lot of years, over the years, I managed to, save my money and, and not live, and live more modestly. I'm able to ride it out, which is what I'm doing. And, hopefully soon enough, we'll be back to live events, and that will resolve itself. But in the interim, yeah.
No, Ralph, I was just going to say, I don't mean to interrupt. The synchronization thing is a problem, but you're talking about living more modestly. I've been to ralphperl.com and I've seen your sports car.
Right. Right. Right.
Nice.
And by the way, I'm still paying for it. So don't ask where the money's coming from to pay for it. But there's a story behind the car as well. Needless to say, going back in time, matter of fact, just before my wife died, she had always wanted a sports car convertible. I had always wanted one, and we went looking for one. They didn't have what we wanted. We got another one. and this was just months before she died. So she got to enjoy it, and then
Wow.
yeah, she got to enjoy it for a short period of time, and yeah, we have pictures from it, and she was so happy. And you know, from there, I had you know, held on to it for a number of years, and then I'd always wanted the car that you see in the photos, and you know, since I was like you know, 18, 19, and so I gave myself a 50th birthday present. Unfortunately, the timing with COVID and everything, I didn't really expect. I didn't really expect that to happen, because at the time it was, you know, it was no problem, right? And you know, and now I'm still, you know, I'm still paying for it, even though I'm at the end of the payments. I'm still paying for it, so I'm not,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not going to get rid of it, because you know, I'm going to get hit. You know, depreciation is going to kill me on it, so I'm going to lose a ton of money. So at this point, we just ride it out. So
Literally.
yeah. But you know what? There's nothing better than going for a drive in the countryside with the top down. I mean,
I'll bet.
that's my mini vacation. Honestly,
Yeah.
That's like a mini vacation to me. So,
And it's got a beautiful story behind it. So thank you for sharing that with us. That's amazing. It's like, because, you know, quite often you'll see like a man of around, I think you're around my age roughly, and you see a guy in a red sports car go past and you think, overcompensating. But now you've explained the whole backstory. It's a completely different deal.
Okay, I'm trying to find out what the car is now.
it's a 2017 Corvette convertible.
Oh, really? Eh? Oh, cool.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So,
Now it all makes sense.
yes. Yes.
Cool.
So-
And so Jessica, what do you drive?
She drives the Corvette.
I drive what my dad lets me.
She drives the Corvette. She wants to drive the Corvette. She wants to drive it.
I would like to at some point. He doesn't trust me enough yet, even though I think I'm a pretty decent driver, but it's okay.
But the insurance for covering that must be immense. So I can imagine why he'd be a little bit nervous to let you get in there behind the wheel. Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm good with driving the car that I'm driving now. So we're good.
Okay. All right.
It's a black SUV, so it's good enough.
Wow. That's a black SUV. That sounds especially from someone who I don't even own a car, but a car, unless you want to get outside of Toronto. Yeah. So Jessica, it's your turn now. So this is the background you use for your self tapes and such?
Yep, this one.
That
It's very
wasn't a very,
soft.
sorry, that was a really uninteresting question, but
It's okay. I love this background. We originally had a purple one, it's actually still here, and we just recovered it because we like the blue better. But we have two backgrounds technically.
yeah, I found that most actors go with the blue. Like some have a kind of a gray, others have blue, but that tends to be the go-to. I guess we should ask the talent agent really, like what should be the right thing to have in the background. I mean, Teri, what do you want when you see a self-tape? Like what?
Okay, well, if you take a look at all four of these screens, what is the one that makes the actor pop out the best? Exactly. You want to have nothing in the background except a color that's going to enhance you visually. And so anything that's cluttered in the background, like Ralph's screen right now, the eye is going all over the place and it stops looking at the actor. Same thing with me. There's like stuff that the eye wants to go to and it constantly will do that. And so you lose track of what the actor is doing. You need to have a plain background and nothing that washes you out. So if you have a white background and you're pale, you disappear into the white background. So a blue screen is actually pretty universally used by actors because it does tend to help you pop, and that's what we want, and that's what casting wants, is they want to be able to see the actor. They don't want all this crap in the background.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so, Jessica, what was the last self-tape that you did?
It was for this reality TV series, and I had to talk about like vintage items that I was interested in. And actually, I was wearing the same outfit that like exactly like I just finished doing the tape. But yeah, I actually recorded it by myself because my dad was out somewhere. I'm like, I don't need a reader. I'll just wing it, and I did it, and it was fun. I got to talk about like different items that had importance to me, and because I love Broadway so much, I talked about like Broadway playbills and certain shows that that I really loved and why I like collecting them, and it was interesting. And the person casting it is actually somebody that I know pretty well, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it was fun.
What's your favorite Broadway show? Because like you mentioned before we went on there that is one of your passions. Is Broadway.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure Teri knows one of them. If she watched my full my full audition, she probably knows one, which is Falsettos, one of my all-time favorite shows. And it's a very sad story, but it's such a heartfelt show, and it's something that so many people could relate to because it talks about like a broken family, a kid who's in the middle of two parents getting divorced, and a husband who leaves his wife for a lover, and this whole thing. But then the wife is like cheating on him with his psychiatrist. It's like a whole 180. But like the songs are so good, and it's really heartfelt at the end, and it goes through a lot of tragedy. Not that I like tragedy, it's just like a really good story, like that. Or I like shows that are really not known. Like another show that I don't think anybody really knows of unless you're like a Broadway geek is called Bear, a Pop Opera. And it's like my other all-time favorite show next to Falsettos. Again, it's really sad. I promise I'm a happy person. I just love tragic shows. And I don't know, that one is more my level though, because it deals with like high school kids, but they're going through like a hard time with identity and that type of thing, and it kind of like divulges into the LGBTQ community a little bit, but they're all like really heartfelt and really relatable, and I really like them. And anybody watching, please watch them. I need more people to talk to about these. It's like nobody knows about them, so please. But yeah, like those are some of my favorite shows. I know they're not the most common, but that's what I really like.
When it comes to me and musicals, if anybody asks me, oh, what do you think of musicals? I'm like, I hate musicals. But anytime that I've ever been, like every time I've been to see a musical, I've come out thinking, wow, that was awesome. So I don't go out seeking musicals, but if somebody drags me along to one, I'm sat there, I'm like in awe, like, wow, this is just amazing.
Mark, try seeing 50 of them over the span of 3 years. Then we'll see.
Wow.
Then we'll see if you still like them, because
that might be a push. Yeah.
We before the shutdown, we were going because she started in theater. She's such a theater kid. We were going to New York every 2 or 3 months, and every time we'd go from a Thursday to a Sunday. And boom, the moment we land, we would land at LaGuardia, and literally, I swear to God, this happened once. We'd be in a cab, right? First of all, the flight got delayed, right? So we'd be in a cab all the way, it's about an hour to an hour and a half from the airport to Manhattan, right? So we're arriving on Thursday, primetime rush hour, right? We have a show to catch that day at 7:00. Right? Literally, I remember this happened once right around our birthdays, because we went for our birthdays, and we literally dropped our luggage in the hotel, didn't have time to even wash up or refresh or nothing, ran to the theater and literally got in our seats right as the curtain was opening.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we did shows every time we went. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, sometimes Sunday matinee before we went home Sunday night. Every single time, I swear, we saw 50. Every Broadway show you can name in the last 3 years.
You crazy.
I swear to God.
Good dad, good dad, good dad.
I swear.
Oh, wow.
Show.
That's commitment.
I don't even know how much it cost me at the end of the day, because there you're dropping like 150 US for every single ticket, right?
Yeah.
So
that's just, yeah, that would require another mortgage, I'd imagine. But I've got one of my kids.
I'm already all mortgathed out.
Well, yeah, exactly. The car and everything. Yeah. But I've got my oldest is turning 9, but like when a couple of years back, maybe 3 years ago, she was absolutely obsessed with Hamilton. She still hasn't seen it yet, right? We're still saving up for that one, but she was so obsessed to the point that she would listen to it so often, and she even has like the book version of the script that I would dip into it. I'd just like choose a page at random. I'd read one line, and then she would be able to repeat all the lines that came after that. It's like,
wow. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, that.
I'll tell you another story. So we were in New York, right, watching what's that one with George?
Be More Chill.
Oh, Be More Chill, right?
Be More Chill.
And we ended up seeing the star of that and the composer in a small club, and we ended up, afterwards they meet, they meet all the fans, and I said to the guy, I said, I know every one of your songs. I could sing every one of your songs, because in the morning, driving her to school, listening to the song, picking her up, bringing her back home, singing the songs. I knew I went to bed listening to it in my head. Right? It was amazing. It was remarkable. And he loved it. He turned to her and he said, "Good job. Good job."
Nice.
That's cool. Awesome. You know what? Teri's made me feel self-conscious about my background. So can you wait a second?
Oh.
You're not on
There we go.
Oh, you have a blue background.
There we go.
There we go.
Not quite right. There we go. That's better. All right. Now,
now
we're talking.
Didn't you have like some nifty background the last time that we did this? You had some virtual back. What happened to what happened?
Well, I think that was, I was using a different platform to read. This one I'm using Restream, right? It's restream.com, which and the one before I was using StreamYard. And I guess StreamYard has that ability to put that background in, but for some reason, like this, they don't have this. So I'm gonna have to say to the StreamYard people, like, get your act together. But what this does allow me to do is to bring up things like this. We love you, Teri. Right?
Look at how many messages that Teri's gotten. They all love her.
Yeah, all of them are pro Teri. Everything that's come up is all pro Teri. And this one, I'm not so sure. I love falsetto. It's not me. These are all real. So I don't know what she means by falsettos. Well, we've lost Jessica.
We've lost Jess.
I swear I didn't kick her off. So what I was going to ask before this comes to an end is, hang on, I should hide that one. I don't need that anymore. I'm a dialect coach, so obviously I'm going to ask the question. I'm going to ask Teri this first of all. How important is it for an actor to have a few accents under their belt?
It's hugely important. I see projects every single day looking for various accents, or looking for accent reduction as well. So there's a whole mixed bag. I mean, the more accents you have available to you, the more bookable you're going to be. We just, even in this last week, I've needed British accents, I've needed Russian accents, I've needed East European, Hungarian accents. I mean, it's like any skill set. The more skills you have to offer as an actor, the more bookable you will be. And so knowing and having different accents is probably one of the best things that you can have on your resume, because then you can play a multiple of roles. I have a couple of actors that really are super strong, and they're booking all the time with various accents. So yeah, we'll do a plug for you as well on our site, because it's hugely important as an agent, as an actor, to have, as many accents under your belt as possible. Really, it's going to open up a ton of things for you.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because you could easily have said, nah, who needs it? But and that would be easy to believe if you were to see a lot of resumes of actors that will list, like maybe 3 accents or something, and the accents will be American, British, and Canadian. And it's like, well, hang on a minute. What do you mean by American? What do you mean by British? There's no such thing. And, okay, so you're Canadian. Well done. You can do a general Canadian accent. So different mentality.
I see it all the time. I see that all the time. And, sometimes people will actually list accents that they're actually horrible at doing. Like, if you're going to list it, make sure you're really good at it. I had a guy a couple of years back, he had listed excellent British accent on his resume. And we sent him in to a guy, and the director was British. And he basically ran him over the coals for having this on his resume when he could not do it. It was embarrassing to the actor. It was really embarrassing for us. And so now it's like, if you're gonna list it, make sure you've studied with a good dialect coach, and exactly what you're doing, because it's hard to get people with accents, but if you're going to get them, make sure you have them correct at least.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. I'm glad you mentioned, it takes a lot of work, a lot of practice, and not just because I know that the mentality for a lot of people is to just, I've got an audition, it's tomorrow, and it's in a particular accent. Like, okay, well, I'll do my best to help you, but really, if I'd known a few days before, we could have set aside more time. So, Ralph, have you done any accent work yourself?
Yeah, currently doing some general American accent work with someone, but want to definitely expand on that and include other regions, because I know, as Teri mentioned, how important it is. The Canadian, we don't realize how much we actually speak with Canadian isms, right? Until you're an actual American who says, "What's with the accent?" Right?
Yeah, that always surprises me. I think we don't have an accent.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that's the whole idea of I don't have an accent. This is this blew my mind that this attitude is something that is throughout North America. I've actually seen a casting director post a job that said, listed everything that they needed. Needs to be a female, needs to be this, that, the other. This is their background, can be any race. And then at the bottom it said, no accents. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So I posted back, I replied to this one. I'm sorry, anybody who's heard this story before, you can put me on pause but this one blew my mind, because I was like, what do you mean? And that person who posted that role really took offense at that question, and it was a straight up, straightforward question because I didn't know what that means.
Yeah.
Like for me, there's no such thing as being able to speak without an accent, unless it's ASL. You know, if you're doing sign language,
Yeah.
even that has some kind of accent. You even have a kind of an accent with that, but obviously it's not spoken. But to see that someone say no accent, and I asked them, and they're like, they were so annoyed, and that's how it was left. Everyone was like, you know, she was like, well, I know what I'm doing, and I was like, but it was a serious question, and it was never answered. So
the funny thing is that in talking to a casting director, he said to me, the producers and the directors don't even know what exactly is wrong with what the person is speaking. They just know that it doesn't sound right.
Mm-hmm.
They just know that it doesn't sound right. That's all they know. They don't know the technical aspect of it. They just know it doesn't sound right.
Yeah, which is like that is and I'm not being disrespectful when I say this, it is the layman's that's a layman's position, because when you watch a movie or a theater show, whatever it is, TV show, you know when something doesn't quite sound right, especially if it's somebody doing an accent from your particular region, and it's like, okay, that doesn't sound quite right, but they wouldn't be able to say what it was. They couldn't pinpoint about it what didn't sound right. I mean, that's why that's my job. So Jessica, I'm going to bring you into this. What accents can you do? It's okay. I'm not going to put you on the spot. I'm not going to make you do them. I just wondered, did you list some, right?
I did. Like I can do them. It's just now I'm scared because you literally do dialects to do them in front of you.
I am not going to ask you to do.
Like in school we do some. Like I've learned how to do like RP British and Southern American, and even like neutral American I'm learning right now with the same person my dad is learning from, because I know that's really important for like any American network. They look for that. I was even talking to a casting director. I don't know if maybe my dad mentioned this when my computer like spazzed on me and I was kicked out, but he mentioned, I don't know if he mentioned this, but a different casting director who we spoke to, she said, if I hear that an actor doesn't have a neutral American within the first 10 seconds, I'll click away, even if their acting is amazing, because she said I could never bring it to a producer if the neutral American isn't there. So that's why now I'm like beyond self-conscious about it, and my dad is too, I would think. So I would say that's like the most important one for me, right? Because like all the networks I want to be on are American, right? So and it's difficult as a Canadian who has like Canadianisms, as people call it, because I don't even realize that like half of the stuff I do is considered Canadian. For example, saying sorry, that's Canadian apparently. Like not apologizing. But saying it like that, like there's a difference between saying like sorry and then sorry. They're different.
It's also the
like sorry is American and then sorry is Canadian, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, sorry.
Who would have thought?
American is sorry.
Right? So
yeah, I'm sorry. Whereas because the way, I don't want to get too technical here, but it all comes down to lexical sets, which is like word types, and it's in Canadian there's like in Canadian we have like some things that are split, some vowels that are split that they don't have in American accents, whereas we also have mergers that they don't have in American accents. So you've got like for us, you've got like, for example, the word what I would say orange and sorry, they're in the same set. And for you also in Canadian, sorry and orange. And for them, sorry and sorry, but orange, depending on which American accent it is. And it's different for like, and forest, like in Canadian, it's orange, forest, porridge, sorry. And they're different in some American accents. So it's way more complicated. And I guess, like you say, if you're a Canadian actor trying to do an American accent, it's only when they go, I'm sorry. Can you do that again, but without the accent? And it's
Yeah.
that's
And you're like, what accent?
yeah,
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
yeah.
I have to tell you,
It's
yesterday I did like every month I get together with like book narrators and we do this kind of an accent practice. We choose a different accent like every month, and it's a lot of fun, and we kind of get together. We critique each other's kind
Oh,
of
that's cool.
accent, right? And they like basically yesterday it was Canadian accent. We're doing like Canadian accents, and they were like, well, it's so easy. It's so much like I didn't realize how much it was like American. And I'm like, whoa, hang on a minute. I said, be careful who you say this to, because if you talk to a Canadian actor who spent thousands of dollars, American dollars, trying to get an American accent, they will not be very happy with that, because and it's like you say, you don't know until you've said that, and as long as you're like, if you're not aware of those lexical sets being different, like that's a Canadian thing, that's what Canadians say this way. Oh yeah, it's and I saw this in the show recently where I can't remember what the show was, but this woman pronounces her American friend's name the wrong way, not friend, like an acquaintance at work, and she's like, and her name rhymes with pasta. So in America, and she's like, oh yeah, you're Canadian. It's it rhymes with pasta, not pasta. So even that, like pasta is like, that's a Canadian thing. So there's it's a good point you bring up. And sorry, I went off on one for a little bit.
It's just yeah. No. It's just it's so important because a lot of people, just because from what I've heard, lose out on roles sometimes solely because of that.
Yeah.
And they don't even, like, the actors don't even know, and they can go years auditioning and be like, why am I getting so little, without realizing
Yeah.
that could be one of the reasons, right? So
Yes.
I found that so fascinating. And
Yeah.
I'm thankful that I'm learning this when I'm like 19 and not like 30 years from now.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But
already. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Studying accents is like really, really important to being able to book different types of roles for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
and it I've taught those kind of like workshops where you're explain. I mean, the main thing is you get people talking in the accent. Like there is a totally different role, like actually dialect coaching and giving classes on an accent. They're very different things. But I did hold a workshop not too long ago where it was all Canadians wanting to learn, gen up on their general American. And it just blew my mind how much they learned, or in other words, what they didn't already know about American accents and how they differ, but from Canadian. So awesome! I'm glad to hear that you guys agree with what I believe, which is that you need to have as many accents that you can do. Now that's the key, like you said, Teri. Whatever accents you put down, be specific, but also make sure that you can do them really well.
Yeah.
And if you can't, you're going to come unstuck, because when they ask you to do that accent, they'll be like, ah.
Yeah, for sure.
Languages too. Languages and dialects, both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Really, really, really important. Like I don't know. You mentioned ASL too. Sorry, I know like we're past four and we all need to go. But I just wanted to mention quickly, like you mentioned like ASL and you were talking about like accents, right? You just reminded me because I studied ASL for a while and I'm continuing to university, and I really love the language too, by the way. And I can like have I could converse with somebody good enough to get by, which is why it's on my resume. But something that my professor, who is deaf, something he told us was that, let's say like you're right-handed and you start doing a sign, like for example, you start signing your name, but you do it like with your left hand, and let's say you're right-handed. He said that people interpret that as an accent. I was like,
really? Oh, that's so interesting.
yeah. So like I'm right-handed, but if I signed my name with my left hand, let's say, because it's not a two-handed sign. Like for example, this is a two-handed sign. But just doing my name, if I did it on this hand instead, people look at that as an accent. I was like,
Yeah.
wow,
Wow, that's
damn.
so
So
cool.
it was like, it was really interesting. But yeah, I don't know. You just reminded me
Yep.
of that, and I felt that was important. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Exactly.
fun
It's
fact for
fascinating.
y'all.
And and the other thing is, it's like, whereas like we're in this world, in the hearing world, and we're speaking in English, and I'm speaking in English with a different accent from you. But if we were, let's say we were from the deaf community, if I were signing in my original language, BSL, you guys, if you had grown up learning ASL, you wouldn't know what the heck I was talking about. But if a person
They're
from
two different
France,
languages.
yeah, if a French person came in and they did French Sign Language, then ASL people were like, oh, okay, I get the gist of what you're saying. Because French, FSL and ASL, they're kind of similar, but BSL is totally different. And BSL is mostly two-handed. So that, again, it is like a totally different language.
Interesting.
Yeah, I had no
Yeah,
idea there was
it
Fascinating.
one sign language. Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
whoa.
absolutely not. Yeah,
Like,
I mean, pretty much
wow.
yeah, like we learned.
every nation has a different
Oh no, I was
sign language. Yeah.
Wow.
Fascinating.
It's so it's my favorite. It's my favorite language to learn. Like on it, it's so interesting, especially because like my professor doesn't speak. We can't speak English because he's deaf, so he forces us to sign. And like half the time we're like trying to guess. We're like, did John? Does this mean that? Like what is it?
Yeah.
But like he helps us, and like he's like we learned so much from him without a translator. It's
Wow.
literally just us, and he's like, yeah,
Yes.
Cool.
like I'm your deaf like teacher, like welcome to class, whatever. And I'm like, wow,
This is
I
the
actually
right way to
understand
do
it.
it.
I'm like,
Exactly, because
so
yeah, that's right. You don't have a translator, because like I taught English as a second language. Now they call it English as an additional language, which is much more accurate to call it that. I taught English for like almost 2 decades, and that's the thing. When you're teaching people English, you don't have a translator. You're teaching people English in the medium.
Yeah.
And it's the same like if I'm teaching someone an accent, I'm teaching them the accent in the accent, and then get them to repeat it, and then I'll comment on what it is they need to adjust. And
Cool.
so the same with your ASL teacher. It's like, yeah, they're teaching ASL in that medium, and that's how it's done.
Mhm.
oh, it was like the best class ever. Like I did well, and we like had so much fun. Because like we couldn't talk, we weren't allowed to talk, by the way. Like we like no, like our mouths
Fantastic.
couldn't talk. Like every time like our teacher would see us talk, he'd be like, no, no signing, only signing. And we were like, oh, okay. Like,
Great. I want to do
we had a lot of fun.
Cool.
You should.
All right, so
It's so much fun.
before
Anyway.
I wrap up, I should ask, is there anything anybody
Yeah.
wants to get off their chests? It's like an AA meeting, kind of.
No, I'm all good. Thank you so much for this. Actually, I have a bazillion auditions to get out. So, but thank you for this. This was really, really fun. And I learned a whole bunch of stuff too. So that was great for me.
Yeah, very cool. Thanks so much for the opportunity. Nice seeing you, Teri. Nice seeing you, Mark. And nice seeing you, Jessica. I'll see you soon. And
Yeah.
and we got to get ready for Orange Theory. So that's where I'm off to next.
Orange or orange?
Orange.
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 You see, we can't get rid of the Canadianisms. So
Cool.
there you
Thanks
go.
for coming on, guys. I'll speak to you
Thank you.
soon.
It was really nice